Today, I am going to speak to you about the nature of mind and its transformation, its scientific transformation into spirit. I'm going to make an endeavor to tell you how matter is transformed into energy, energy is transformed into mind, mind is transformed into light, and light is transformed into consciousness. The yogic science which India has to offer to the world, especially that of Kriya Yoga, is based purely on scientific fact and evolution. Now, to begin with, in the science of yoga, we deal with these facets of yoga, these stages of yoga, which are called yam, niyam, asana, pranayam, pratyahar, dharana, dhyana and samadhi. There are 8 limbs, 8 sections to yoga. That's why it is called Ashtanga Yoga, because there are 8 sections. And normally people connect Ashtanga Yoga with the Sutrani Sutra Patanjali, with Yoga Patanjali. Now, when you begin this scientific process of the self, this science I have called the education of inner knowingness. The nature of mind and the science of spirituality is the education of inner knowingness. How you can know yourself better by transforming yourself by gradual degrees to your innermost nature, which is pure awareness. So the basic existence of man, the basic nature of a human being, is his physical body, which he keeps healthy with exercise, yogasanas, proper diet. He thereby keeps a fit body. Then he goes to his next body, which is called the passional or sensual body. This sensual body is gradually also trained in life, how to live your lifestyle by knowing the proper people, earning a good income, getting a job, marrying the proper person, having a family, where you can sublimate your senses and your passions to a higher degree. As a human being lives on, he practices his yogasanas, then he practices certain devotional chants whereby his passions are transformed into emotions and his emotions are transformed into devotion, and the devotion is transformed into love. So this is the story of the heart, and the story of from the physical we go to the emotional body. The physical body, the sensual, passionate body, and then the emotional body, and then you sublimate it further to make it a devotional body. And for that we have practices called Bhakti Yoga. The physical body you practice Karma Yoga, for the emotional body you practice Bhakti Yoga, for the intellectual body you practice Jnana Yoga, and for the final moksha you practice Raj Yoga. So these are the different scientific yogic methods to transform the physical to the emotional to the mental, intuitional and spiritual bodies. It's done in a scientific way. After the emotional body, you read the scriptures, you read intellectual books, you read scientific books where you refine the mind, you train and tune your mind to higher perceptions of life. And as you assimilate these higher perceptions, your mind becomes more and more refined, till it becomes so refined that it becomes almost merging into a state of awareness. This is the gradual alchemy of total transformation. Yoga is the alchemy of total transformation. Of course, the first basic yoga is yam, niyam, do's and don'ts. Self-directed austerities, self-directed disciplines. But when you get to the higher yoga, after bhakti yoga, you get into the meditational yoga. This is what I'm going to speak to you about the nature of mind, the states of samadhi, and the science of spirituality. Now, after you get into a state of bhav samadhi, which you get through devotional practices, through bhakti yoga and bhajans, you further go into a different nature of mind, where you try to study your mind. Now, what is the nature of mind? And what is the nature of mindfulness? The nature of mindfulness is when the mind is focused and trained to tune itself to one object or one person without being distracted by any other object, and your mind is totally filled with one thought, free from the distraction of any other thought. This state of mind, this nature of mind is called mindfulness, which in yogic balance, in yogic science, we call dhyan. The nature of this mind, the composition of this mind is of course molecular. It is a molecular mind. It is well trained and well tuned and flows in one thought, one train of thought in one direction. And when this mind effortlessly flows upon one thought, say it's the thought of an apple tree, and it thinks of nothing but an apple tree, or it's a thought of the form of Lord Shiva, and it thinks of nothing but Lord Shiva, without any other distraction, then the mind is said to be in meditation, which is called dhyan. Such a mind is called a mindful mind. Mindfulness. You are in a state of mindfulness. Of course, there are higher and higher states which I will come to later. In this state of mindfulness, if you continue on your education of inner knowingness, you will get to a deeper state. When you get to the deeper state of mindfulness, you are focusing on the same object. Then you go from the molecular to the atomic stage. The mind becomes more refined and you are able to go into a subtler atomic stage of electron, proton and neutron. That is the composition of your mind in a state of the samadhi, which is the vitarka samadhi. So vitarka samadhi means reasoning, logical introspection, where you are seeing the form of Lord Shiva, the moon on his head. The name associated with the form is Shiva, the meaning of the name and the attributes. So the mind just focuses on that. Then the mind goes from vitarka samadhi. I'm of course simplifying the states of samadhi for you and correlating it with the substance that samadhi is composed of. It's very scientific. It's very concrete, so you can grasp that, the process of meditation of dhyan is basically molecular. We are aware of the molecules in our mind. The process of the first stages of vitarka samadhi and vichar samadhi are electroprotonic because they go to a subtler state. I'm not going to go into the details. I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Then your consciousness goes to a deeper level from the Vitark Samadhi to Vichar Samadhi, where it goes to the subatomic level. Your mind from the atomic level is broken down to the subatomic level of electron, protons and neutrons. So the molecular mind in Dhyan, the atomic mind in the Vitark Samadhi, and in Vichar and Samadhi, it is the subatomic strata. Your mind becomes subtler and subtler. The constituents of your mind, by the process of a constant meditation, constant focus on the object of your study, refines your mind. And when you get to the subtler state of vichar, then you have one flow of thought. It is at this stage that you can see only the object of Shiva, and you forget yourself. The moment you forget yourself, you are one with Shiva. There is one only. There is no you and Shiva, there is only Shiva. You and Shiva are one. This in yogic parlance is called samyam, where the subject and the object become one. It is called samyam. And from mindfulness you transit to a deeper state of soulfulness, where the inner attributes of the soul express themselves to you. And then your mind is one homogeneous fabric of radiant ether, and you go to a deeper state where the mind is not hardly mind, it is more subtle. And it is so subtle that it is merely electroprotonic. The neutron is received, it is removed. The neutron is removed. Now when the neutron is removed, you only have an electroprotonic mind in a state of Ananda Samadhi, which is the third state of Savikalpa Samadhi, where you're floating in a bliss of joy. You are partially integrated with that state. But when you become totally integrated with that state, there is no I, the ego disappears in Ananda Samadhi. But you are still in a state of soulfulness, and your consciousness has expanded. Then the mind becomes subtler and more refined by constant years of meditation. With the constant practice of Ananda Samadhi, you go to a deeper state of Asmit Samadhi, where you go and realize that all of this is me. I pervade the whole world. I am in every twitter of the bird. I am in the clouds. I am in the sea. Your awareness expands to the whole of the relative creation. And then you can see that all of this that exists is me. So this is a subtle state of mind, a very subtle state of mind. And here, this is the ultimate state of knowing relativity. You can see God, you can see His splendor, but through a purified state of mind. This purified state of mind, which is almost as pure as the Atma, this purified state of mind is the Buddhi, which is called the Ritambara Pradnya, holding of the divine knowledge, the bearer of truth mind, the holder of divine knowledge, knowing everything there is to know in the universe. So this state of Asmit Samadhi is known as Ritambara Pradnya, where your consciousness pervades the whole relative universe. But you're still in mind. Now comes the crucial state, the constitution of the mind. As it gets subtler from the molecular state, it becomes subtler and more expansive into the atomic state. From the atomic state, it becomes subtler and more expansive in the atomic state, the subatomic state, as is in Vichar and Anand Samadhi. Then from the subatomic state, even the neutron and proton disappear, and you're only one vast electron. Your Savikalpa Samadhi is one homogeneous fabric of radiant ether, one electron, one corpuscular electron in a form of relativity. You are in a state of soulfulness. You have known the mysteries of nature. You have known the truth of nature. This is the science of mind, as by constant meditational techniques and yogic practices, it transforms itself from the molecular state to the atomic state to the subatomic state. And this goes to the radiant state of radiant ether, the one electronic state. But now from the electronic state it has to become light. The electron is the particle and the light is the wave. So at the edge of time, unveiling the edge of time, you still have to pass through the stargate where you are shifting from Sabikalp Samadhi to Nirvikalp Samadhi, from the electronic mind to the light mind, the lightning mind. So you're making the paradigm shift from the electron to light, from the materialistic particle to the spiritualistic light, which is half spiritual and half material. Now light is the crucial juncture. Light is matter at its subtlest end, which merges into spirit. And matter is light at its grossest level of iridium, the rock, the mud, the earth element. So the yogic method transforms you not only from man the man to man the brute to man, man the brute to man the man to man the God, but it also transforms you from matter to energy to light to consciousness. This is the science of spirituality. This is the nature of the mind. Practice, dear souls. Do not let any moment go by. Now the crucial state is reached where the electron, the one electron, has to speed up and become the wave. The particle electron has to become the wave of light. This is the wave-particle duality which has confused and perplexed many a researcher of truth, yogis and scientists alike. But without practice, you can't make the transition from mindfulness to soulfulness. When you're in one electron, when you're in Sabikalp Samadhi, in relativity, you're in soulfulness. And the transition from soulfulness to consciousness is the transition from the particle to light. It's very subtle. Sometimes the wave particle come together. But the world is still confused, the normal world, the scientific world, as to whether this creation is a wave or a particle. So now, in order to do this, there's a catch-22. You have to have no desire. Your mind has to be pure. If you try, you're making an effort, it's a desire. You don't pass through the stargate from the molecular electron to the wave of light. If you try, you're making an effort, so that's a desire. If you don't try, you don't move because you're not making an effort. So you have to wait for gravity, Gurutva Akarshan, the gravity. And as the gravity of your awareness increases by a constant focus on the purity of being, when your mind becomes as pure as your Atma, when your Buddhi becomes as pure as your Atma, then the Atma, by the virtue of its own gravity, swallows up the Buddhi, transforms the Buddhi into Atma, and sucking itself inside out through the stargate of the third eye, it transforms matter into spirit, it transforms Buddhi into Atma. But the Atma is still surrounded by a very thin film of materialism which is called light. This is very, very important. So you are in a state of enlightenment, but the desires of your past life form this thin film of resistance which prevent you from going into total consciousness. You're in Sabikalpa Samadhi, but you're not in Kaivalya. You're not in the absolute consciousness. But this is the journey of the soul, covered by the nature of the mind. And as the soul works its way inside out, it transforms the mind. As the Atma works its way inside out, it transforms the Buddhi into the Atma itself, and the Atma merges into Paramatma. This is the science of the soul. This is the nature of mind and spirituality. Now, even the light is matter at its subtlest, half merged into consciousness and half in matter. Only when you forgo your last desire is complete and fulfilled, then you go into a state of the seedless samadhi, the seedless or the nirbij samadhi. And after seedless and nirbij samadhi, after staying in that moment where the gravity of the earth can be sucked in and gravitated into you, where the space-time continuum will no more be, because then once there is no thought, no light, once there is no light, when you enter the lightless light, time stands still. Light and its causation disappear, and space, time and light become one. They disappear into the great void, into the great Mahankal, into the great beyond time, into pure consciousness. But those who know it tell it not, those who tell it know it not. I am here just pointing to you the way of the science of the mind, the nature of the mind, the scientific nature of the mind and spirituality. So the mind and the spirit, the physical body, the energy, the mind, the light and the consciousness are essentially all one. And the process of the alchemy of transformation, the alchemy of total transformation, this process is called the Raj Yoga, Kriya Yoga. And with this, I conclude. Om. The sound that transforms, because the universe is vibration and Om is vibration. It transforms your subtlest karma, which are your subtlest thoughts of your past life and past world cycles, into pure light and then to consciousness. Om.